on my way down to have a meeting with Janice Hahn, who is a Los Angeles County supervisor. The counties run elections in California, and the County Board of Supervisors supervises the Registrar of Voters, who in Los Angeles is Dean Logan. Now, Dean Logan was hired as the acting registrar in 2007 over much opposition because he wasn't educationally qualified, and there had been some issues with him regarding the work that he did in Washington State. And people who I know tried valiantly to not get him appointed as permanent registrar. But he was appointed, and he did his job over the years, and problems have ensued with every election. Now, in 2016, I co-founded Ballots for Bernie, which was a statewide effort to monitor the ballot counting in almost all of California's 58 counties. We had point people, team leaders, if you will, from each county. That person scheduled people to oversee the counting. Because as people know, what was counted on election night and reported out to the press is not nearly the final number of ballots. There are late-breaking vote-by-mail ballots that come in because they have 3 days after the election in which to receive those ballots. And there are provisional ballots. Or in the case of Los Angeles, there is this category called Other, the number of which exceeds every other category. In Los Angeles, we had an epic failure of the new voting system. Not only did we go from precinct polling places, 4,500 precinct polling places, to 970 voting centers, which was pitched as a way to get people to be able to vote wherever they live, work, or shop, not just in their neighborhood. And these voting centers, half of which were open for 11 days and half of which were open for 4 days to do early voting. We also had ballot marking devices, which election protection experts say are not as secure as paper ballots. So we went from originally paper ballots hand counted in the precincts to this IncoVote system, which was scanned, to the ballot marking devices in voting centers with early voting. Now, ideally, this was to prevent provisional ballots, ironically, because with electronic poll books, which were connected to the registrar's office in Norwalk by the internet, you would no longer be giving someone who either forgot to bring in their vote by mail or did not know they had been switched to vote by mail, or maybe had innocently registered for it, maybe when applying for a driver's license. The default was vote by mail. Without having to surrender a physical ballot, you could cancel their mail-in ballot and give them a ballot that would be voted on election day and counted as a regular ballot. And also, because of a new law, SB 207, you could now change your party or change your address without having to be given a provisional ballot. So this was all based on these e-poll books being able to connect to the voter database. Well, in many voting centers, the e-poll books failed to connect, and they were down for hours. I personally observed 2 of those voting centers at UCLA's Ackerman Student Union, where students were online for 2 to 4 hours, and they were all given provisionals. I was there from 2 to 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., I went over to the Warner Avenue Elementary School, where I knew one of the poll workers, and she told me they were giving provisional ballots since about 1 p.m. So the system was an epic fail, and as of Friday, the Los Angeles County reported that there were 26,000 provisional ballots, 50,000 conditional ballots, which are for people who register the same day, because now in California we have same-day registration, which is also good, but those ballots have to be conditional because we need to make sure the person's eligible to vote. And conditionals get counted that night. So before provisionals, they get counted. and there were 170,000 other ballots. Now they say in their asterisk that other means damaged ballots or ballots that could otherwise not be read by optical scanner. So I've got to believe that somehow these provisional ballots that were given out all over the city, all over the county like candy, some of them have got to be in that other category. I know at Warner Avenue, I was handing out paper ballots to tell people that, look, if you're going to stand online for 2 to 3 hours only to be given a provisional, you might as well fill out a paper ballot. And thankfully, the paper ballot was required by Alex Padilla, who conditionally certified these voting machines, even though they failed 43 security checks. Now, I did a program about this earlier, so I'm not going to go into the security checks that had failed. But what we need to do right now is 2 things. In Los Angeles County, we need to have eyes on that ballot counting process to make sure that all these provisional ballots are counted, at least the ones that people are eligible to vote. Obviously, if you're not eligible to vote or you weren't properly registered, your ballot isn't going to count, but every other person should be counted. And we need to make sure that they give the provisional voter a call, not just send them a letter, but they need to call them and tell them why their ballot was not counted and give them an opportunity to rectify it. And with a signature, if it's missing a signature or the signatures don't match, they usually send you something by mail. But we know that people are not opening these mail pieces. For instance, they were sending people like me, NPP voters, postcards to send back if we wanted a crossover ballot. I saw that piece of mail because I'm on the lookout for anything from the LA County Registrar of Voters. But statewide, I don't know the figure countywide, statewide, only 8% of the people sent those cards in. So we know that people aren't looking at their mail. You know, Loyola Marymount students did exit polling in 50 locations. And this number was surprising to me, so I need to call them and find out where they were doing it and what time. Because basically they found that 78% of the people were able to vote in 20 minutes or less. And that is just crazy. That does not jibe with what we all know happened, which was these waits of 2 to 4 hours. But they did find out that only 30% of people knew about the early voting. And as I said, the Registrar of Voters sent me five pieces of mail. And the last piece about all this, including my sample ballot, which had this information. And the last piece they sent me was a card that said where were the 4 closest voting centers to my house and when were they open. So people are not reading this. And also sometimes people don't have a permanent address, you know, because they move around a lot, so they use a friend's address or something. Regardless, we want the Registrar of Voters to make a call to all these voters and tell them why their provisions were not counted and give them an opportunity to rectify it. In Los Angeles County, Linda Bassett, who's Linda Teach on Facebook, is a Bernie delegate. She was a Bernie delegate with me at the 2016 National Convention. She has been going down there to monitor the counting. So she's our team lead here in Los Angeles. And you can message her if you want to volunteer to take a shift or 2 over the next, I guess, 25 days to monitor this ballot counting. And she will let you know what to look for. Now in California, we need team leads for different counties. Basically, I and another person, Mirka Morales, who was the team lead up in San Francisco last time, called all these 58 people, and only 2 of them want to do it again. So we need all new team leads, and I have a graphic that I just posted on my page, recruiting team leads, asking them to email me at losangelesforbernie@gmail.com if they want to be a team lead. And what they need to do as a team lead is schedule volunteers in their county to monitor the ballot counting. So please share that graphic or volunteer yourself if you're interested either in being a team lead in California or a monitor in Los Angeles. Share that graphic in different Bernie groups. because I'm a member of like 100 Bernie groups in LA and California, but I can't post in all but 5 of them, the ones that I moderate, because I'm in Facebook jail. So we need to get people to do this. This is the extent of which I am going to do on this effort, is calling all these people from before, making these graphics, trying to find county leads. At that point, the county leads are going to take over. We're going to do another graphic, which is going to have a bit.ly link that's going to be linked to a document that has all the county leads. And if you want to volunteer, you're going to call your county lead. So I'm stepping out of this now. So I need people to step up and continue what we started here to get these ballots counted. Now, the reason we need them counted, obviously, is the establishment is throwing everything up against us to make Biden the nominee. It's absolutely shocking to me that Evan Weber from the Sunrise Movement tweets how disappointed he is and surprised that people like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker would endorse Biden. And I said, you know, you should have listened to us who told you from the beginning that these are establishment people. They're only thinking about their own selves and their own career. And this includes Elizabeth Warren. So, you know, anybody that's expecting her to come out and endorse Bernie, I've got a bridge that I can sell you. And for people like Robert Reich and Jesse Jackson that waited until this week to endorse Bernie, all I can say is shame on them, you know? Shame on them. So we have a situation here where if Biden gets out of doing debates with Bernie, I think he could be sunk, because Bernie right now could show the country how badly Biden would do in a debate against Trump. That's all we need, is this dry run of Biden debating Bernie to knock Biden out. So yes, you need to be calling Michigan, you need to be calling all these other states, but right now we know we've got a lot of votes in California, and we want to make sure they get counted for Bernie. So the final thing that I want to say is we are asking people to come out tomorrow to the Board of Supervisors meeting, which is downtown at the hall, Kenneth Hahn Hall of Administration, and make public comment. Janice Hahn has an agenda item, and her agenda item is to have Dean Logan report back in 45 days what he's going to do to make sure the general election in November is not a clusterfuck like the primary election was. And we feel that her asks are not specific enough, so we're going down there right now to meet with her. I've got a 30-minute meeting scheduled at 2 o'clock to talk to her about what we think she should do. But we would like people to either come down, or if you can't come down, go to their website, bos.lacounty.gov, look up who your representative is, who your supervisor is, then find out their email and email them your story about Election Day and what you want them to do. And we've got a 2-page letter that a bunch of groups met this weekend and collaborated on this letter that we're going to be presenting tomorrow. So please share this video, and let's keep fighting for Bernie.